So we do need to talk a little bit about return types. We need to understand exactly how returns work. Effectively, a return statement tells the system to return a value back to memory. Once it comes back to memory, we can take that value and we can assign it to a variable, and we can use it in another part of the program. It tells the method to send back some data back to the calling method. The return type could be anything. It could be a primitive type or a type you've created. It could be a string, it could be an employee, it could be whatever you want it to make. If you say void in a return, it means it returns nothing. A method type is the method's return type. So an int method it returns an int. In this case, as we look at this method, this particular method is a double return type because it calculates a gross and it returns the gross pay. So the value that's returned is gross and it is a double, so we say double in the return type. If you have any statements after return, it gives you an error message because the statements can never execute and it causes a compiler error. Let me show you what that looks like in code. Okay, so I have a program here that let me return gross. Okay, so I have a program here that declares some variables, calculates the gross pay by passing those variables into the gross pay. You can ignore things happening below here. We're going to use these later in our program, so they're not relevant for now. But this calculates out our gross pay and then prints that out on this particular statement here. This is one statement on 2 lines of code. I'm going to go ahead and compile the code over here, and we're going to see how this works. I'm going to clear the screen, and I'm going to compile the code, and I'm going to run it. And you can see that I never saved my code. Let's try to run it now. Let's go ahead and when you forget a semicolon, it makes that error. Alright. So we fixed the semicolon and we're going to go and clear the screen again and we're going to run that pay calculations. Okay, now you're going to see that 37.5 hours at $16.75 per hour is 628.125. Okay, so this works. We passed in this value and it returned the double gross pay, and then we could print that out on line 15. Okay, so let's say we print out something below this. All right, hopefully I saved that line of code. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do this, and I'm going to save it, and we're going to run it again. Now it says it's an unreachable statement. It's dead code. Dead code doesn't let us compile it because it will never reach this code and it errors out the program. So make sure you know that when you're using a return statement, you don't put any code below that because it just won't work. We're going to end the recording here.